So first of all, thanks for being here.
Thank you
Thanks
so much
for
for
accepting the
inviting me.
interview. Yeah.
No,
So-
it's an honor.
Exactly. So we are feeling the same as well. The thing is like, your talk is all about connecting people, the most intelligent people with the people who want to learn. And
Yes.
this session is all about. We were sourcing for a lot of intelligent people all over the country and all over the world, and we had presenters from all over the country.
Yes.
But what really inspires us is a journey of a young person, maybe a teenager. Pushing hard and winning in the society is not an easy thing, because it is not even easy for the people who are really experienced.
Yes, sir.
But the things you have accomplished in this age is really great.
Thank
So
you
I just
so
want
much.
to tell to the audience down here and also the people who are going to watch this thing on internet, just a few small introduction about you. What are the things you have accomplished?
Yes.
So, reading a book at 19 is not a big thing. But 19 and you are writing a book, that is a huge thing. And you wrote your first book when you were 19, right? The book
Yes,
is
sir.
Mind Your Mirror.
Yes.
Okay, so Mind Your Mirror, that is really a philosophical topic, So, there have been a lot of writers, people like the books like Think and Grow Rich. These books were written after 500 interviews and 35 plus years of experience. So after all those years of experience and all those years of interviews, they can write a book like Think and Grow Rich. And when I was going through that particular book, I was like, okay, I was reading a lot of experiences, a lot of interviews, and a lot of mindsets kind of thing. And what made you to write a book when you were 19? And the book is called not just something called, I Too Had a Love Story. That is not the book you wrote, right? That is not the kind of book you were, that is not the, two states kind of thing. You really wrote a book called Mind Your Mirror.
Yes.
So the title that inspired me a lot. So what is Mind Your Mirror? And why the title? What made you to wrote the book?
So I think at the age of 15, I knew that I wanted to become an author, and I knew that I wanted to become a teen author, because I developed a newfound passion for writing and sharing my story. So when I was around 17, I had a lot of friends who studied literature in my class. Like, I was doing another subject. I wasn't studying literature back then. But I had these other friends who were studying literature, and so many of them, didn't read a lot of books. And, they usually read a lot of work online. There was this app called Wattpad. Even though they read books, they were very much active on this other reading app called Wattpad. So I was like, okay, maybe, times are changing and people are more connected to the digital world now. Like, that's the future. And I also, because I was so young, I figured that, if I write a book and try to, market it normally, like traditionally, maybe it won't reach a wider audience because I'm still so young and hardly anybody knows me. So I thought, why not share my writings online, like, on social media apps, and see if people like reading my work. So my book Mind Your Mirror is a collection of poetry and prose. It's not exactly a novel, but it's a collection of many of my poems. And the reason why I titled it Mind Your Mirror is because when I used to share my work online, it was wonderful to see how people from all around the world read my work, read the same poem, but were able to, connect with it differently and, take it from their own perspective and interpret it in their own way. So the reason behind my title was inspired by this event only, how my readers always, saw the same poem so differently. So it was, my work is just a mirror to how your mind reflects when it reads or listens to what I have to say. So hence I titled it Mind, Your Mirror.
That's really great. And
Thank
the
you.
way you thought it is really good. Because,
Thank you.
I was expecting an answer that is more common among people. Okay, so yeah, that is the reason I raised this question too. Because when you say people are interrupting interrupting your poem and thinking what they can think, putting themselves on the place. So that is really a great thing.
Yes,
So it's
thank
really
you.
wonderful. I'm looking forward to read more of your works like this.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah. So again, you said you're mostly into poems, right? So you wanted to be a poet.
Yes. I have novel ideas too, but I'm still working on them. Yes.
Why particularly poetry? So who's your favorite poet? What brought you into this poetry?
So, even though I write a lot, to be honest, I don't read much because for me, it's just personal. I feel like I don't want other people's work to influence my work. So I want it to be my way of thinking without any influence from outside. Plus, from my dad's side, my great grandfather used to write for the Nizams, and his son was a poet too. So I think it's just in the family how I developed this love for writing.
That's great.
Yes,
so
and
is there, yeah.
And the thing I really like about poems is that you can say so much in so little. Like, you could, even though we write novels, a poem itself can take you to a journey of a whole story of a person and how so much is said in so little. I think that's really beautiful.
That's really great. So you might have wrote a lot of poems. Do you have one particular line that you think of every single night and just feel like, oh God, I wrote this. So this is my line. Is there anything like that? I asked this question because this question was raised to Shakespeare when he was, when he was there writing his novels and dramas and plays and whatever it is, and also sonnets. Everyone knows this. And this question was right to Shakespeare. Asked to Shakespeare, you have done so much masterpieces. You have done so many work in literature. And what is the one thing that can sum up your work that you wrote? Unknowingly when you were writing about conveying about something. And he said this thing. So in a sonnet, he wrote something called "If love fails, I will not write again," kind of thing. So he said that, okay, I'm all about love. I'm all about romance. And I know romance in this world will survive. And if that's gone, I'll stop writing. And he said, luckily for me, the love never gone from this world, and I'm still writing. So I'm just sharing this experience of Shakespeare. So is there any particular line that sums up your journey that you feel like, okay, when you go to bed and you think of this particular line and feel like I wrote this kind of thing?
There is one. So I think writing for me is so personal. So I think each poem is very personal to me. But right now, there's just one stanza from a longer poem in my book is coming to my mind, which I think means a lot to me. It's very simple, but so the poem ends with, and these roots that have helped us grow, may we never let them go. So basically, what this means to me is how, even though we're all, young seeds, trying to branch out in this world, like we're growing and we're trying to branch out, reach for, greater heights and like the sky. But how our roots are always so important to us, like, our family, people who are close to us, and, the stories that, our grandparents, our parents have gone through to, bring us to this life. How our roots are so important. Like usually when we branch out, we forget where we're coming from. And it's always important to remember that, even though we're branching out, roots help us grow so much.
That's really inspiring because, this line really adds up to the previous thing you said. As you said, meaning your grandfather, and parents were writing for nizams, right?
Yes, sir.
So that sums up your line too. And
Yes, sir.
it's really unique to see a person who has some values when they write or when they do something.
Thank you, sir. I
Really
feel like when as dreamers or as people who are passionate about what we do, and when we try to do make our own place in the world, it's very easy to forget uh, where we're coming from, and the people who are very close to. We invest so much of our time in doing what we love that we forget that it is because other people, our parents love and grandparents love, that we're still here and we're able to see the world the way we do.
That's actually really good.
Yes.
So moving up to the next point, you wanted to be a writer. You were into poetry, and you wrote your book. So second thing you said is like creating a social presence for your works, and that is where you faced a lot of hurdles, I guess, right? And that is where you mastered yourself to be here today, because we found you. So actually, the thing is like you were available for us to be found. I think that's the point. Because if you want to, until otherwise you tell someone that you are this, and maybe someone like us will come and find you, and kind of thing. So you made yourself to be found. How that happened? How was that journey particularly started?
My whole social media journey.
Yeah.
So in 2016, I remember I had written this small poem, and I felt like I wanted to share it with more people. I think until then nobody knew in my family or friends that I really like to write and want to share my work with the world. So I shared my work online, and that particular post, when I posted it, a few of my family and my friends liked, but there was this one. There's this. There are these musicians called the Chainsmokers. They are pretty famous, and they were the first ones to comment under my first post. So that was really interesting, and to see even one person like my poem, or even one person commenting something good and connecting with my poem, was really interesting to me, to see how my work is not just restricted to myself. When I give out a platform to share it with others, it has so much more scope, and it can reach so many more places. So then I started sharing more of my poems regularly. I really wanted to establish a good readership before I publish my book, because I knew that if I publish my book, I wanted people to read it, and I wanted people to be there who are interested to read my book and connect with it, because I knew that it would be very difficult for me as a teenager to approach a traditional publication house and ask them to publish my book. So that is why I try to establish a huge number of following on Instagram, and then I independently published my book, and I marketed it through Instagram. So basically, the reason why I started was to share my work and to create a following for my book. But then, as time went by and as many people started reading it, it became so much more than that. So it's not just about me anymore. It's about so many other people now too.
And there comes responsibility, right?
Yes.
So you have to provide a valuable content. You have to provide something valuable. People expect a lot from you now.
Yes.
And yeah, even the expectation is the limit. What we say, we decide what people should expect from us.
Yes, it is very intimidating to share what you feel with so many people, and I have like 20,000 followers, so it's so scary. It is very scary sometimes, but you have to be brave if you want to do what you love.
That's really good. Really inspiring. Really great. So, about this journey after the book, and you have been nominated for so many awards, and you have been listed in so many, featured in so many articles and so many, magazines and other kinds of people like this. So, when they approach you, what will be your first thought? So, when some magazine is approaching you, and some article writers are approaching you, and bloggers are approaching you, and what will be the first thought? And right, as a writer yourself, someone else is going to write about you, and end of the day, you know the pros and cons of writing. So, what will be your approach? What will be your mindset when you meet someone like that? Not a fan, but a person who wants to explore and your work, maybe. Yeah.
I think at first, even now, I find it really unbelievable, because if you saw me 4 years ago, I thought I thought maybe all of this success might never happen, but I had to just keep pushing through. So now, if anybody approaches me, I'm really grateful that somebody thinks that I'm worthy of an interview, or somebody is interested to know me more about my book or my journey. I'm really grateful at the end of the day. And my dad always used to tell me that if there's any opportunity to talk more about yourself, or express yourself, or talk more about your book, my dad always encouraged me to go forward and not be scared. So in the beginning, if anybody used to ask me for an interview, I used to be really scared, because I'm really not that into talking much. I'm usually a quiet and private person, but my dad encourages me that you should be grateful, and you should go forward and express yourself more.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful when anybody asks me or approaches me, basically.
That's really great. This journey is really good, and the way you feel about things. And when we were talking about having this writers come in and bloggers come in to interview or write about you, something like that, you said you were a quiet person. So I think that is the quality of most of the writers and creators. They need some peace. They need moonlight. They need wind. They need every single thing that nature has to have. So when you start to write something, so what will be you usually choose a topic or get inspired by something before you write? How it does work? You choose a topic to write, or you just see something and get inspired and write?
I don't usually think about anything and write. I have my own journal, so I sit with it regularly, and whatever comes to me naturally in that moment, I just start writing there and there. So there's this one habit of mine, to not force myself to write. The words will arrive. The poetry will come whenever the words arrive.
It's really good. Yeah, so maybe you have to the thing is, what you said is really nice, because I had seen people sit and brainstorm for ideas to write something like that.
Yes.
But for few people it occurs, right? So whenever you write something, what are the things you want? As a writer, you'll be having some essential criteria, right? I should emphasize this thing. My audience should feel this thing in my writing. So that will be essential criteria for any writer, I guess. I just want to know how it works for you.
For me, I think the main thing for me is to be honest about how I feel. Because I usually don't take topics to write often. I find it, through my experience, whenever I express myself exactly how I'm feeling in a poem, and when I share it online, people connect with that poem more than the ones I try to force myself to write, because it's real. When it's honest, a reader can also feel that it's real, and if someone is feeling the same thing, it will connect to them even more, only if it's honest.
The honest portrayal of your moment, your current feeling.
Yes.
So, you started writing when you just wanted to build your audience when you were 16 and you got inspired to this writing thing. And poetry. Why poetry? Why not prose? And you said the answer for that. In a small way, you can convey a lot of massive things.
Yes.
But poetry, it's still a huge thing, right?
It is. To be honest, I feel poetry comes naturally to me, as I said, because it's in my family. But I feel like the beauty of I can't exactly concise it because it means so much to me. But I think the beauty of poetry is that how you can just express yourself and present it in a very creative way. Like you have rhyme schemes. You can contrast it with metaphors and similes. You can express how you're feeling and compare it with how if most people, they compare the crying to rain. So how you can express the same thing so beautifully, and with so many other elements and metaphors, and yes, it's not like to the point. It has so like a poem can have so many layers to it. It's not just what you see. It has so many things in between its lines.
That is the reason I wanted to know, because this thing, writing, I can feel it when you say it has a deep down meaning within you. So
Yeah.
you are bringing that soul thing out. It's really a great thing. And after the book, before the book, you were building your audience with small poems, something like that, and you build your audience, you published your book. I think that is. I used to work with a lot of CEOs in startup companies and a lot of things like that. I used to do this brand strategy kinds of things. Most of the experienced CEOs too fail in this aspect. They publish the product before the audience are ready.
Yes.
But you could do it when you were 16. Did you have any particular mentor, or did you have any particular kind of education to understand that process? Or it is kind of
To be honest, no. Because even I was still young, and as I said, I'm a quiet person. I didn't talk to a lot of people. I like to do things the way. I like to figure it out myself. So by the grace of God, I was able to. I think what helped me the most was once I joined social media. When you keep posting regularly, and when you keep seeing that this, okay, so maybe this type of background and this type of when I design a template, when I design a post, this type of background reaches more people prefer a plain background, or people prefer a background with flowers or something. So with time, I think I learned, and seeing other writers who were doing the same thing, like much bigger writers than me. I used to follow them, and I used to see what are they doing and how I can do the same thing in a better way, or something that would be good for my audience, because their audience might not be the same as my audience, right? Or his audience might like something completely different. But what is he doing? I see, how he's interacting with other writers, how he's interacting with his readers, and what he's doing to increase, be consistent and grow his following more. So I used to, do my research, and then on Google also you can find a lot of articles on how to maintain your social media presence. So I think there is no particular formula for any for everyone. I think every brand has to experiment in their own way and see what works for them. But the key is consistency. Like you have to keep trying and trying and trying until you find what clicks for your brand. You can't just like post 5 times and feel, oh no, this is not working for me. You have to keep uh, finding what fits for you.
That's actually true.
Yes.
That is the great principle of branding too. So until you
Yes.
find something on your own, you have to explore.
Yes.
And as a writer, as a 16 years old writer with like 4 to 5 years back in your life, so what kind of audience you really wanted to build? And are you having that particular kind of audience, or you just grown into it?
So basically, if you say my audience, it is not. I mean, on social media, you have like this special setting where you can see the age group of your audience. If you see my followers, because it's writing also, my target audience will be from suppose 15 years to 65 years age group, because it is very fascinating to me how even old people are able to resonate with my poems and see it in their own way. So I mean, I didn't have like a target audience, but it just worked out for me somehow. And yes, I think what other people should also do more is to engage with their audience. It is so important. Like if someone comments, reply to them. If someone has a question regarding, like be quick in responding to them. So they also feel okay. Oh, so the person or the brand. Example, if the chasing writer is a brand, also the brand is also interested to listen to what I'm trying to say. And if so as a brand, when we feel seen from our audience, even the audience should feel seen from the brand. That I think that creates some bond of loyalty between the brand and the consumer. For me it was like the writer and the reader. Yes, so they were able to connect with me properly. So I think that also, because as a young writer myself, when I used to comment on a bigger writer's post, if they would reply back to me, I would be really excited, and I would be like, oh, so he's such a big writer, but he's still taking out time to reply back to me. So I think that creates some sort of goodwill around the brand. And people, so if that writer would reply back to me, I mean, like I would go and tell my friends or my family, oh, see, there's this writer, uh, and then they'll also go on his profile and then they'll read his work. So I think building engagement and interaction with your audience helps a lot in social media. And all social media platforms have their own algorithm. And usually, if you see, the whole maths behind every algorithm is how much interaction you get from your audience. So if your audience likes your post or comments on your post or saves it or shares it, more your post will reach a wider audience. Like even the people who don't follow you will be able to see your work, and that's how it reaches out more. So I think engagement is key.
It's really good. Right? So I just had this one question down here.
Yes.
So when we see great writers, when they write, when the most celebrated writers. So if we are thinking about Stephen King or Paulo Coelho, or I mean, the great other writers who are still working in these days. So when they discuss with their audience or when they are in an interview, they usually say that all I do is write, and I don't even know what my social media is doing. All I do is write. So that is the kind of thing these older poets, still the greater ones, are telling. But there is a recent study that said the social media engagements are really lowering the creativity of people, the greater people, because they come in as a writer. That is what I mean, writer or any other thing. They wanted to do something. They wanted to we can see a lot of business influences in social media like LinkedIn, Instagram. So generally, they wanted to start a business. That is how the journey started. But they end up teaching people, and that becomes their business. And also about writers. So they come in as a writer. They wanted to explore an area where only their hearts can go, only their minds can fetch. So. I mean, because that is the point of being successful. If anyone hearts can perceive that thing, no one can do it. If anyone minds can understand that thing, then we are not doing. And that is a soul process. And from there to going social media and again engaging with people, that is again a manual process that you have to put your mind and soul on. So how we manage these two different areas and these two different tasks, and because that is really a hard thing, and most of the people fail in that area. Your success is highly focused on that area. You create without your creativity lag, without any creativity hinges. You are also connecting with your audience. That is two massive things. How you managed to focus on both things on a single perspective?
To be honest, I think this is one area that I struggled with a lot in my personal experience too. So when I started off, Instagram didn't have this algorithm thing. Like all your followers would be able to see your post. But when they changed their whole algorithm, it became very demotivating for all of us as artists, because it is a very tricky, because I think the key is to be confident with your work, knowing that as long as that work means something important to you, it is important. No matter the number of likes you get, no matter the number of comments you get, your work and the worthiness of your work shouldn't rely on the number of likes. But I think I've seen many young writers and young artists fall into this whole trap of wanting just to be famous. So usually what they do is they start out as great writers, but with time they see other people's work, and they try to be something they're not. They try to be more like all these other famous artists on Instagram with millions of followers, So I think that's where these artists, when they try to be something they're not, they start to fail their purpose. Not I wouldn't say fail their purpose. That's a huge thing, but I understand the struggle, and I just want more artists, if whoever's watching this, to feel more encouraged to be who you are and keep posting, not seeing the number of likes or comments. Just keep posting whatever you feel, because and be consistent. Like like you said, Stephen King said he keeps writing and writing and writing. That's all he knows. So as writers, myself, I think many of us as poets and writers, we keep writing. It's just like a continuous process. So when you keep writing, and if you really want to, see, some artists prefer to be private. Some artists don't like to share their work in a public social media platform. But if you're a young author or aspiring author and you want your work to get the recognition you think it deserves, you should not let the number of likes or all of these things demotivate you. You have to keep going. And I think in social media, consistency is key. So if you keep posting regularly every day, at least once, your reach, according to this whole social media algorithm, if you keep posting continuously, it will reach more people. So suppose if today you're getting 40 likes, in another week you might get 50 likes. It might seem 50 likes might seem very less compared to 5,000 likes for that many bigger writers get. but at least you know the satisfaction that a writer will have is that, okay, this is my work. I have been true to my poetry. I didn't try to be something that I'm not. I'm expressing myself honestly, and 50 people are able to connect with it, and that's it. That itself is a huge thing, you know. Being yes,
No, please. You're telling something.
yes. So as writers, when we keep writing and writing, uh, when I was stuck in this whole vicious circle of because at first I was getting a lot of likes, and once the algorithm changed, everything went upside down for me. For a long time my posts weren't working out. I mean, people started unfollowing me. There were no new readers, and my posts were seen very less than they used to be seen. I mean, the number dropped tremendously, and it was very demotivating for me. But then what helped me was, uh, at that time I couldn't let myself be demotivated, because I knew I had this goal of publishing my book before I turned 20. I wanted to be a teen author, and time was ticking down. Like, I published my book in 19, and then in the next month I turned 20. So if I would stop back then, I don't think this would be possible. So if you have a goal, you have to keep going, and you can't. I mean, you have to believe in your work. At that point, I just kept posting. I mean, because as Stephen King said, we write and write and write. So whatever I was writing, I was just posting, and I stopped reading others' work, because when you watch others, you sometimes you tend to feel, no, okay, so this writer is getting so many likes, but why am I not getting? My work is also good. His work is great, but my work is also not that bad. So what I did was, I used to publish my poem online, and then I used to log out. I wouldn't see the number of likes, wouldn't see the comments at all. So what I used to do, that whole day I wouldn't see. The next day when I again go to publish, that time I used to see my previous posts, comments, and just try to engage with, whatever 6 to 10 people who read my work, reply back to them, and then log out again. Like I said in the beginning, I feel I don't read a lot. I don't like others in work influencing my work, because when I initially joined social media, I caught myself doing that a lot. When I read other writers on Instagram, I used to feel like, oh, maybe, generally in this world, people like those type of poems or write-ups. Maybe I should also try writing something like that. But then I felt that when I was trying to be something I'm not, I wouldn't get that satisfaction at all. But like, even if I got like 2,000 likes or 5,000 likes, I still wouldn't feel content, because deep down I knew that piece of poetry is not something, it's not me. Like, I was trying to be something I'm not. So later on, even if 200 people liked my work, I was able to get that sense of satisfaction that, even if less people are reading my work, at least it's original and it's who I am, and people are connecting with what I feel, and who I am deep down.
That's really good. So whatever you conveyed are really good. Because I mean, you also cleared the way for the new writers, or the struggling writers.
Yes.
Because we believe down here. I mean, when we started this thing, we just believed one thing. So our words may be small or weak today, but one day it will be heard by the one who needs it. That is the purpose of this thing. We don't want the million people to watch it just like a regular advertisement that is going on. We wanted to harness someone's feeling. We wanted to create some positivity or create some hope. And you conveyed all those things very clearly. And really thanks for that. So, to coming up with this thing as a writer, and not just writer, you are a poet. So, poets are the most beautiful people in hearts. So, I remember this Korean poem that is directly translated to English. So, it's like, when you have a garden that is full of beautiful blossoms and, some rabbits jumping here and there, and I was sitting there all alone, and the place was called heart, and the feelings were, and the flowers in the garden were my feelings. That is where a writer puts himself down, because that was a mind-bending journey for me. So this writer describes a complete garden scenario, a place where you want to actually live. And she's a lady writer, she conveys that she's sitting all alone in this garden, and the garden was her heart. So it is like the external world. She was having her internal feelings. It is a war. I remember it is a war poem, I guess. The wars were going around, and she was all alone there having a beautiful world for herself. So we just I personally wanted to explore what kind of environment you are living within, So what is the kind of feeling you go through? So I just want to ask, I just want to tell you some few words, and I want your feelings about those words. So you can, if you can do. You can reply poetically if you want. I'll be happy for that too. So to start small, what is life for Amina? What is life? Let's forget about the social media, this every other thing. Deep inside, you have something, right? So if someone asks me, I know I have something, and I call it life. That is more than enough for me. And what is life for Amina?
For me, that's a very difficult question, to be honest. But I think just being fearlessly who you are. I think so. For me personally, I've been I grew up in a very cultured family, and we have all these set of beliefs that we believe in strongly. And sometimes, sometimes it's very easy to feel, misunderstood. Like when I'm in college or in school, that people view the world very differently than I do. So for me, it was very difficult. Not difficult, I'd say. It was challenging for me to just be who I am, and stay strong with what I believe in. For example, faith and purpose in life. Just just be a good person and try your best to be who you are. And I think I can't categorize what life is. Life is such a vast thing, but the first thing that came to my mind was just be fearlessly who you are, and don't be afraid of standing your ground. Just be and let others be. Others, others can do whatever they want. Be whoever they want to be, and you can be whoever you want to be. You should not try to. As long as you don't interfere in other people's lives, and you others should not interfere in your life too. And even if they do, you should not be afraid of just being who you are. I think for me that's been quite challenging growing up, but it's what I've stick by, and I want to stick by for the rest of my life.
That's really inspiring. So what you said is really correct too. People should not judge. People should not interfere in others' life. They should let people live their own life. I think that is the most valuable part of life, I guess.
Yes.
So, what is joy? What is real happiness for personally for Amina as a writer, as a person? What's real joy? How you categorize joy?
I think for me, joy is I find happiness in the smallest of things. Uh, like in the way God created this world, you go outside and there's so many beautiful things. Uh, like a small butterfly could make me happy, or uh, like if I write a poem, uh, if even one of my parents really likes it, that's happiness for me. Uh, like so when I used to win these awards, like I know my followers are happy for me, other friends are happy for me, but at the end of the day, I think as long as I think what's most important to me is that my parents should also uh, be happy and they should be proud of what I do. So as long as my parents are happy, I think even I'm happy.
That's the most responsible answer I ever heard, actually.
I
And
don't know.
happiness could be.
I mean, these are like vast concepts. Happiness, life, they might seem simple, but they're so complex. I can't really put them in a bracket. They're just so vast for me.
Okay. So happiness could be found in the smallest of things.
Yes. Maybe that
That's what it
smallest of things just looks small. Maybe it is much more valuable than it seems to be.
Yeah, that's totally true. Personally, for me down here, so we had a lot of discussions before. Like, not I had a lot of discussion with a lot of different people, and whenever if I find a writer right to talk to or to interact with, I just make it an opportunity to understand how others feel. This. The scars, these things, because writers are made up of scars. They are haunted by something. They really wanted to escape this reality. I was really, I actually was always keen in knowing what the scars are for the people. So you know what I found in these many years of interacting with people and interacting with other people, the scars are most similar. I mean, when you said, let people be themselves, be fearless of who you are. That was like one whole thing. We were all scared of something. In my journey, I was scared like, what if I would not be a person what I wanted to be? And that was my driving factor. That was my driving factor. And whenever I talk to a person, again, they had a very good driving factor. I mean, this interview, this 45 minutes, this 15 minutes of session that we had, I really felt like you gone deep into your hearts and really said something very valuable down here.
Thank you so much.
So I want to thank you for that, for this wonderful words you said, wonderful experience you gave us.
Yes.
Because to end up with the same thing, your book title, Mind Your Thought. That is your book, right?
Yeah, Mind Your Mirror. Yes.
Mind Your Mirror. Yeah. So I felt that actually. So when you were telling something about discussing about your roots, we're discussing about your relationships, discussing about your joy and your presence, your social media struggle, I could all picturize it.
Yes.
So picturize it, what you would have gone through, and I can also relate what I could gone through. So I think you are not just the thing is like, if you want to see the happiness of a writer or a creator is to see his thing work. I think your book worked on me, and it will work on million more people and million more generations to come. So, and I also wish to read a lot of your works and keep following your works.
Yes.
Also, I'll be really glad that if you have a final word regarding to anyone who wanted to pursue their Since we're talking about fearless thing, we're talking about life.
Yes.
So just give one advice to people who are really scared, who really wanted to be something in the world. Don't let them to be. What will be a word of advice? Maybe your hack.
If you really believe in your work and if you're really passionate about what you're doing and what you want to do in the future, please don't give up. Keep trying. Keep trying. I know a lot of people in this world, in this society, will try to hold you back, especially to the girls out there. Female writers, aspiring writers, if you want to write, I know many families and in society, many people don't like the idea of a woman having her own thought process or having her own voice. But it's okay. You're doing this for yourself, and you're doing this for the people that you really care about and for the people that you love. Don't let other people's opinion influence what you want to do, and keep at it. Please don't give up. Keep trying and trying. Maybe it will not work out, maybe, but at least you'll have that satisfaction that you tried to your level best. And maybe it might not work out, but what if it does? It just might work out in the end. So don't give up. Keep pushing. uh, Keep doing what you and work on it. Work hard. And just keep pushing through and never give up.
Thanks a lot, Amina. I will remember this date and I will remember this time. And as you said, in next 20 years, you were telling women entrepreneurs, women writers to go to pursue their ambitions. I wish in our journey, in your journey, maybe before we turn 40 or 50 years, in another 20 years, we can see more women entrepreneurs, women writers, and there should not be this topic called women freedom again to go on to this public and keep hindering, because they got their freedom. They are free to do what they think.
Yes.
Maybe 20 years later, I'll write up to you that your thought, your vision came true. So that was my vision too, and that was the vision of great many people lived in this country, lived in this world.
Yes.
Let all their dreams come true. And
yes,
I wish you all success in your journey.
Thank you so much. I wish you all the best too. What you all are doing is lovely. It's a lovely initiative, and I appreciate it so much. The thought process behind creating the space is so important, and I wish you all the very best. And I hope to see your brand to flourish even more. Yes. And it was an honor to be invited here. Thank you so much for inviting me. It was lovely to speak with you and share my thoughts with you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the session. And I thank everyone who's watching this. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for coming and listening to us.